Hi, I'm Daria, and this is The Higher Authority. To my right, we have Doug. To my left, we have Aaron. We are here to talk to you today about some really, really fun topic. We went to Half Hollow Hills School, and we're going to be talking about our kids and our youth and things of that nature. Aaron, I'll tip it off to you.
Well, let me start off by saying I believe that children are our future. But this was a very interesting topic and appointment that we had as a father of a high school senior who was not in this session, even though he does go to the school. He avoided it like the plague, and I don't blame him. But we got to speak to, in multiple sessions, the first one, some juniors and seniors who really were...
They were great.
They really were. This was not a... oh, we got to sit through this.
No.
These kids were there. They took the opportunity that was afforded to them and really had some great questions about how they can get ahead of every other, high school age student going into college, how they can set themselves up for a career.
Yeah, they were fun.
They were great.
And not all the same areas that they were going into, which I liked. It wasn't like everyone wasn't cookie cutter and this is what I need. It was great.
No, and I think the best part, like you said, is that they didn't run the gamut. They didn't run all kind of the same boring, like, my mom says that I have to major in accounting. Mm-hmm. Some of them had very, very specific career goals in mind. Mm-hmm. Some of them were very honest, didn't have a clue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is great, which is fine.
Which is fine.
It's normal. That's okay.
Yeah, that's kind of like where they not should be, but it's great to be there.
And, I think us giving them not only advice on how to prepare, advice on what to look into, but giving them that sense that it's okay, even if you go to school for something specific and it turns out it's not what you thought it was, to change.
Yeah, and speaking of life practices, right? We
Yeah.
see people going into college, going into trades. They start out, that's their view, that's their vision. And a year or two in, they're kind of like, all right, this might not be for me.
Yeah.
It's okay to pivot. It's okay to change.
Yep. Yeah.
Everybody that has a major in college majors in something, and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or what they, but not only the practices of what people are looking for. We also spoke to today's labor market and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of things like AI and, tight labor markets and shifts in the market and things like that. So we try to give the students who are great. They ask very thoughtful questions, like you said, and we're very pragmatic about, what are they thinking about, what's ahead of them, how to prepare, and how to, we hear the best practices to make them more competitive.
Yeah, I was surprised and happy that a lot of them have internships
Yep.
and that they do some charity stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's so important to be out there in the community because it's not just about that salary that they're looking for. They're looking to have a purpose. And I thought they were a great school. Yeah. They really were. I thought that they were an extremely thoughtful bunch that they, some of them just kind of touched my heart, that they were just like, one of them wanted to be in theater. One of them is going into sports. I mean, I thought how great that he got accepted and he's already committed to a college for that. But he has a backup plan, which is very smart. Right. He has a backup plan because you know how it is. You're out there, you're playing something, and the next thing you know, you're not.
Right.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time.
I can speak firsthand.
Yeah, sure.
One injury changes your whole plan.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
I started college as a pre-med major, really majoring in lacrosse, and finished college as a business major with a degree in economics and a very, very damaged neck.
So and here you are today.
Here I am today.
Right.
It's for the best. I would have made a terrible doctor.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I think also we talked to them a lot about networking, and your LinkedIn, and the importance of that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, a lot of roles you find through other connections, other people that you've developed relationships with. Networking is huge. Probably about 80% of roles are found through networking and not necessarily through applying to LinkedIn or Indeed or different things of that nature. So the importance of developing it through student associations, through extracurriculars, through your community, through volunteering. You can't speak enough about that. So we try to emphasize that point with the students as well.
Yeah.
And since most of the people who will be watching this and see this are more on the parent side than the high school student side, the interesting part of it, most of the students we spoke to came from a class that was called Senior Experience. It's not a program that all schools have, not even here on Long Island, that prepares students. Every one of these students has an internship because it's part of the class. Every one of these students, most of them do volunteer work because it's discussed in this class. They get credit for this. Now, that's great. But for the vast majority of parents, whether your kids are in kindergarten right now or are in high school, if your school doesn't have a program like this, these are great tips for you to individually coach your students.
Yeah, for sure.
These are the things that are going to separate them from everyone else who's applying to schools, in school, out of college, and now looking to join the workforce. The better you can prepare them by having them have real life work experience. Using your network to say, hey, my daughter wants to get into, engineering. I don't do that, but, do you have any internships or do you know anybody? Giving them that advantage, the coaching, the things that employers are looking for.
For sure.
These are the things that need to be coached because it's a small percentage of kids who are jumping in and doing this on their own. If your school is not 100% on board with this kind of preparation, and more schools are doing it, but make sure your kids are ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%.
And relative to that, we'd like to cover some of the topics that the students asked us
Yeah.
that were important to them because of uncertainty or just different things that they're hearing as part of the guidance and the counseling that they're getting from their school. So we've got a couple of questions we wanted to share with the audience. So the number one was, is it hard to find a job in today's market? And the question we came back with said, it is a tight market. There's a little bit of uncertainty in different areas, but there are areas of growth. We've been busier this quarter. We've had a good year so far at Executive Alliance over the last couple of years where there was some uncertainty. There's areas in manufacturing. There's areas of sales. There's areas of technology. So it is tight, but companies are doubling down on their investments. They need to innovate. They need to stay ahead of the competition, advance their brands and their solutions. So the activity is better now. That could change tomorrow. We'll know, but it's not doom and gloom. It's not 2020. It's not 2008. So we tried to give the kids, a little color on where there could be areas of growth and what could be viable for them.
Yeah, true. And we talked a lot about AI.
Yep.
Because AI is the new, what is this thing called? The internet.
Right? Yeah,
That
exactly.
was like, what is this thing? You think it'll go anywhere? Who knows? Whatever. And look at it now. And now AI is that next plateau, so to speak. And so we did talk a lot about AI to these young adults and about where they're feeling the angst, but they're using it and how they're using it and things of that nature, and a lot of them use it all the time.
They're using it, absolutely.
Yep.
They're using it all the time. And I know that for myself, I was definitely, apprehensive. I was like, oh, this is another thing. But then I said, let me hop on board.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
There are so many things that I can get information to. You have to be careful because not everything is 100%. It
No.
can tell you something that's not exactly correct. But I do find it very interesting, and I do see how some of the clients are now implementing it. I was just speaking with one client today who has a lot of infrastructure needs that they need done, and the biggest thing is this person must be versed in AI.
Right.
It's definitely for your child, these up and comers into the workforce. AI is something that they should definitely learn more about and sort of saturate themselves in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, what's the saying about, you know, repeating the past? We have to look to the .com and internet bubble. AI has been championed as a cure-all for everything. And similar to the internet, oh, we have email now. We never need to pick up the phone again.
Right.
I never need to leave the office.
Right.
Let's face it, email is great. Communicating online is great. But, you know, after the internet bubble, so we're on almost 20 years, it hasn't completely replaced face-to-face conversations. It hasn't replaced the phone. We talk to everyone here at Executive Alliance about the importance of being on the phone because it separates you from everyone else who went all in. So the same thing with AI. We don't know 10 years from now what AI is going to be successful at helping us with and what it really doesn't replace. So it's very important to, I hate saying that, you know, the internet and all of that is old technology. But just like email didn't fully replace phone calls, AI is not going to fully replace everything. So it's a balance.
Well, I think that brings you to their, you know, second most popular question about being more competitive. You know, how do you be more competitive? Be more communicative. You know, don't text. Don't slouch when you're on an interview. You know, dress. You know, all those things. You know, in conjunction with doing some charity work, being in the community, doing those things, and don't do it because it's going to get you to the next level. Do it because it's a good thing to do.
Right.
It's a fantastic thing to give back. You will get something out of giving to someone for sure.
No doubt. And one thing our clients like to see is not just what you've done. We talk to the kids about this. It's like, are you mission based? Are you value based? Are you, do you have a purpose? Do you drive certain things? Are you community centric? You know, things like that. So we try to accentuate to the kids that, to be more competitive, connectivity is important. You know, collaborative spirit's important. Being part of that community, but also having that id, right? Having that drive and having that purpose was really important, because we see candidates that we speak to that might look great on paper, and you get them on the phone or you get them on a Zoom and they're checked out, they're not engaged, they're not here. And we try to express to the students that, you know, it's good to have that presence, it's good to have that level of energy and that level of teamsmanship and things like that. So those are some of the areas, as well as being on LinkedIn, and we'll talk about some of that in a little while, being mindful of your social media presence, other things too, but your communication skills, your soft skills, collaborative skills, and being able to manage projects and programs is going to be important. So those are some of the things that we try to help them, just to be able to succeed.
So closing thoughts?
No, it was just a great opportunity. We're thankful to have Hollow Hills West High School for the opportunity to present to the students. They were awesome.
Maria was fantastic.
And Maria Golden was great, and her colleagues were great, so we're really appreciative of the opportunity.
Go Colts.
Yes, thank you so much. This has been another edition of The Higher Authority. If you'd like to send us a question, a comment, a complaint, anything, contact us at info@execsally.com. I will answer any of the compliments. I'll give these guys the complaints. Have a great day.